Hi everybody, it's Peter Zallam's Griniflix Adventure8 and welcome to another video. Today it's about travel. Yes, I haven't had one of these for a long time because we've all been in lockdown. Anyway, I've made connection with a tour operator in Kenya, a safari tour operator. You know, seeing the animals and all sorts of wonderful creatures, but on motorcycles. This will be interesting. The name of the organisation is Dusty Helmets, providing motorcycle tours through safari reserves. And I've made connection with them, and I'll be speaking to both Netta and also Frederic, and we'll be talking about their operations, how they run it, and possibly what this might mean for the future. And maybe we'll be able to organise an Adventure8 tour out there also in the coming years, whether it be 2022 or maybe 2023. But anyway, let's get on with the interview. Aha! Hang on, audio. What do I need to do here? All right.
It's always a little more complicated than one plans.
Yes, as much as we all love technology.
Nice to meet you, Peter. I'm Netta.
Nice to meet you, Netta, and hello, Frederic.
It's a pleasure to talk to you, Peter. In fact, the fact that we are having a discussion is kind of answering one of the questions you had, the pandemic happened, and what changed, So what changed is that we are trying to find people who are like us, making the rest of the world aware that we exist, and we propose some things that are quite nice and quite unusual, And when people become aware, they are usually quite interested, and we are very happy to run into you because you're quite active, in making yourself known. You do things that we don't know how to do them. You do all those videos and have your YouTube channels. It's kind of out of our league, yeah. So we're happy to chat, and see what is it that we can do, to help each other. And if it only helps you, it's also okay.
Kenya and Africa has always been an interest of mine. My only exposure to Africa has been North Africa, when my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, we tried crossing the Sahara by motorcycle.
Excellent.
And there is a video. Yes, we started off in Morocco, and then we crossed into Algeria, and then we tried to ride down south across the Sahara down through Algeria. We got to Tamanrasset, and then we were heading down towards Niger, and that was that section where there's only a post in the ground every kilometre, and you have to sort of navigate between the posts.
So today it's a bit dangerous now.
Yeah, that was back in 1990. So it was pretty awkward back in those days also.
I've done that route
in
83 and 84, so I beat you to it. Yeah. No problem. And I was just for the anecdote, I was in Upper Volta on one night, and then we heard gunfires, etc. And then the next morning, it was no longer Upper Volta; it was Burkina Faso. I was there during the coup, that changed the government and the name of the country, and so I was in the rally Paris-Dakar.
Really?
Yes, and I remember the organizer, his name was Thierry Sabine. He was standing on the hood of a car and telling all the people, look, this is none of our business, you cannot meddle, we continue as we are, and remember, if things turn really sour, we have the fastest vehicles in Africa.
A good exit strategy. And Netta, tell me a bit about yourself.
I am fourth generation born in Kenya. Motorbikes, I've been riding motorbikes since I was about 4 years old. I suppose in one way a little similar to Oz in the sense that when you live, so I grew up out of big towns and cities in the outback of Kenya, so to say. So a lot of sort of like the farmers and in around the area all had, little bikes for us little kids. So yeah, and little similar to you, I mean, always outdoors, snakes, lizards, you name it. So been doing the same thing since I was knee high to a grasshopper. And yes, that's my passion. So with the bikes, the idea was, so I've been doing safaris, 4x4s and walking safaris for about 30 years now. And the motorbikes was just like, it's just so much better of a way of showcasing a country and getting to places that are completely off the beaten track and away from what I call the main tourist milk run in Kenya. Yeah. So that's really how it was born. And also with the motorbikes, it's a great way of, we do a lot of conservancy work or conservation work. And with the bikes, it's just perfect. So yeah, it's an amazing way to show people what an incredible country Kenya is, for sure. Yeah.
And how have people found out about you? Has it just been through word of mouth, or? So
up until sort of a couple of months ago now, we've really just relied on word of mouth. And, as you were saying earlier, I mean, with this whole COVID pandemic and changes in the world, that's now the serious, send out the emails, have Zoom calls, etc., etc. So changing times. I'm really more of, as daft as it sounds to say, a complete bush kid, and computers and me don't particularly get on very well, but I'm learning.
Pencil on paper.
I still work. My pencil is always here.
Me too.
Frederic, the Paris Dakar, so how have you and Netta got together in this project?
I've been a client for many years now, so this is what I like, to go and ride, and it's been in my whole experience biking. This has been really in a class by itself. So the way I try to explain it is that you can go anywhere in the world and you will find beautiful places to ride. You will run into interesting people, etc. But here, you have this, and you have the wildlife that you cannot get anywhere else. And elephants, gazelles, zebras, buffalo, hundreds of thousands of flamingos. So if you like that, then it's really stunning. It's really stunning. And Dusty Helmet operates from a conservancy called Soy Sambu, where you have, I think, the highest concentration of animals in Kenya.
Wow.
Compared to, for example, famous Masai Mara. So you don't see the big ones, but you see so many animals. For people who come on their first day in there, they say, this is unbelievable. Yeah. So that's the edge that of a differentiation that we provide. And then, of course, Netta, she takes you around, and she has thousands of stories on the culture or things that have happened, etc. So, which is highly interesting and entertaining. You have wildlife. When you want to do a safari and see wildlife, animals roaming free, the first place to think of is Kenya. So, yeah. And it beats Tanzania, it beats South Africa. And the crazy thing, that Netta has managed to do is that she can take you inside the conservancies on the motorbikes. So this is just a different experience. if you look at our website, the first picture that we have is, in fact, it's Netta and the lead guide, John, like a few meters away from giraffes, bright sunshine. It's just, so if you like that, if you like biking, then you will get all the terrains that you can think of, all the different kinds. If you like beautiful sceneries, you'll find them, of course. And of course, Africa has a different culture, so you get exposed to it, when you bike. And then for me, it's really the wildlife, that has really fascinated me.
With COVID, I think everyone's starting to realize what a privilege it is to travel. It's not something we can take for granted anymore. Not only with borders and political situations, but with health situations as well. Not only that, the climate's changing all the time for the worse. Vegetation, flora and fauna is disappearing left, right and centre. So those people that have a passion for seeing nature, this is the opportunity. And obviously those people with a motorcycling bent, I guess this is one of the technicalities of this sort of tour, is that people need to have some sort of ability to ride a motorcycle. Obviously, people like yourself, Frederic, with Paris-Dakar experience, and Netta. And I've had quite a bit of experience with motorcycling also. So, we have the advantage of being able to do this sort of tour, and we have the skill set to be able to survive it as well. How would you describe what sort of expertise, what sort of riding skill would you need to participate in one of your tours?
Well, the really fantastic thing about the itineraries that we as Dusty Helmets put together is that we have every itinerary we do, we can do 3 different levels of riding. So I'll start from the beginning. So our base is Soysambu Conservancy, as Frederic was saying, and it is, aside from being an amazing place, it's also a really great place for us as Dusty Helmets to literally see and watch and find out the capability or the sort of what level the riders are. So be it intermediate, medium, or, really hardcore super riders. So from that, we can then judge doing exactly the same itinerary, but using whichever we think is best for the riders. It's incredible. I don't know what you've experienced, but it's incredibly difficult when you get clients and, the whole communication starts and you go, well, how long have you been riding? And people will go, 30 years. It actually means nothing when you come out here. And I'm sure it's the same, in Oz, because we deal with the heat, so it means very little. So to be able to do those first 2 days of, okay, this is plus minus the terrain with the heat. And if you can do it, fantastic. So that's basically how we do it. But there are, from the intermediate to the middle to doing really hard rides is easy for us to do. Yeah, so we judge that one. It's really interesting. The Husaberg as a motorbike in general. Australia has the biggest number of people who collect Husaberg motorbikes. Complete Husaberg fanatics. They've got all sorts of groups, clubs that you can join. We've done 3 big groups out from Australia, and it was absolutely amazing. But it's just, that connection with the Husaberg, because obviously KTM kind of discontinued them once they bought them out. Mm-hmm. But it's really interesting.
Fantastic. I noticed on your website that when you're running the tours, you have a support vehicle. What's the process? Yes. How would you just maybe just give a quick rundown of what sort of support you have, etc., in putting it all together?
Okay, so the support vehicle is always there, regardless of how many riders. We obviously have a minimum number of riders and a maximum number of riders.
What's a minimum number of riders that you recommend?
So minimum 4, maximum 8. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the support vehicle is always behind the motorbike. So the vehicle basically carries the fuel, spares, tubes, drinking water, sort of all the things that you need while you're out and about on the trails and the tracks. We also have a second vehicle that doesn't follow us on the bikes, but goes literally from A to B, that just carries, you know, luggage, bags, etc., etc. So that car will always get to wherever we're staying, be it if we're camping. We don't actually camp as much as we used to anymore, but we do. We still do sometimes. So that second vehicle literally just carries luggage from A to B. Support vehicle is always with the riders. I mean, there are a few occasions, not many, where the support vehicle might just be parallel, but off-road. So, I mean, accessible for the bikes, basically, if something happens. In the sense of other bits of support, every single client or rider that comes out and does a tour with us, we put on what's called AMREF out here, which is an emergency airlift insurance cover, because we do go to places that are completely off the beaten track. I mean, literally in the middle of nowhere. I suppose, like I say, a little bit similar to where you're from.
You remember the name as the Flying Doctors?
Yeah, it's the Flying Doctors.
That floats out.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've always got drinking water, snacks, you know. I mean, pretty much prepared thing, in the sense that in the back of the support truck, you've got from levers to cables to, I mean, you name it. Pretty much an entire motorcycle you can put back together. And obviously fuel, because, you know, some of the places we ride, you can buy fuel, but it's sold in little plastic bottles, which you don't particularly want to be putting into your fuel tank. So that's basically the job, sort of the support car. As a team, I mean, John and I do the trips together. We kind of mix and match. I mean, we either both ride, depending on the size of the group. If it's a smaller group, then one will ride, one will drive the car, and then we switch. We take it in turns. You know, one day I'll drive, he'll ride. One day he'll drive, I'll ride. So yeah, that's in simple terms. That's it really. Yeah.
The bike that you have, I guess seat height is something to consider, depending on the rider, isn't it? So, is there a minimum height that you need for someone to ride?
You know, I mean, we have had riders come out before that, you know, have taken a look at the bikes and gone, "There's no way I can ride this." If you are a seasoned rider, I mean, you don't have to be a enduro champ, but if you are a seasoned rider, you do, obviously, you get on the bike and you use, you know, a rock or a ditch or something to put your foot down. But we can lower the bikes. So we can drop the bikes from the front on the forks, and we can also drop them on the rear from the PDS where the spring sits at the back. So it's not, you know, impossible to do. And we haven't, thank goodness, ever had someone who's gone, "Well, you know, I'm 5'2" and there's no way." They've always ridden. It is doable.
Yes, I suspect anyone interested in the tour, once they see the bikes on the website, then it's almost a case of self-select, isn't it? They already know what to expect to a certain extent.
Yeah. I mean, just to explain a little bit, every single trip that we do, I mean, the idea behind doing these motorbike trips as Dusty Helmets, obviously, one, to get great riding in and to showcase the beauty of Kenya, but it's a combination as well. So, I mean, every single day is different. And we also have, you know, we can do one day where you're in the saddle for 6-7 hours, and then we'll do another day where you know, we'll ride for 4 hours, but then we'll combine it with, let's say, you know, going to see something cultural, or so, you know, walk down or do a game drive in a vehicle. So it's an amazing way of just kind of merging everything that there is. I think it's really interesting, and I think it would be amazing to be able to kind of pull something off Adventure8. I mean, yeah, basically the long and the short of it.
Yeah, and I guess also with, you know, the whole world's got to settle down with regards to the way we travel internationally. how we cross borders, and you know, what sort of new rules will be in place for us to be able to, you know, meet each other and still stay within all the pandemic rules that exist, you know, from country to country.
I mean, motorbiking is the best social distancing ever.
It is. Yes.
I mean, it doesn't get better than sitting on a motorbike in COVID times, does it? But the government are trying their hardest. I mean, we as Dusty Helmets, our entire crew are vaccinated. You know, we've all had it. Coming into Kenya at the moment is actually not that complicated. I mean, you have to have obviously a negative PCR test. There is no mandatory quarantine unless you are obviously on a red list country. We have very few red list countries. There's track and trace. So we have similar or pretty much the same kind of, rules and regulations as a lot of the rest of the world. So it is positive. You know, a lot of people will ask the question, we're coming to Africa, does anybody take any kind of notice with, the pandemic? I would say we're actually in Kenya probably a lot stricter. I mean, my kids are at university in the UK, and what they tell me of how things are there is very, very different to how we are here. I mean, mandatory mask wearing the minute you go out your front door. In towns, you have temperature checks. You've got to wash your hands before going into. So, I mean, it's strict. It's good. I mean, just because we are, on the continent doesn't mean we're not doing anything, which I think is also, of course, hugely important to get across when people start to inquire about coming out. Yeah.
So from a logistics point of view, how do people get to Kenya? What's the route they have to take?
So there's certainly coming from your side of the world, there's two ways of doing it. A lot of people will come via South Africa because it's time-wise shorter. For you, I think most people will come either via, I think it's Singapore or Dubai and then on to Nairobi. Europe is easy, actually. I mean, they're direct flights into Nairobi from most major European and obviously the UK from London. Genuinely, it's not complicated. Even from the States now, they've got direct flights from New York straight into Nairobi. So yeah, it's not majorly complicated. I think it's just time-wise, certainly from where you are to get to Africa is a bit of a schlep, but yeah.
So next question probably is, what is the best time of year to conduct a tour?
Well, I mean, we don't have seasons as in Europe. I mean, we don't have a winter and a summer and a spring and an autumn. I mean, we have rainy season and the dry season. So we have two lots of rainy seasons. We have a short rains, a long rains, and then we just have a dry season. You can ride any month of the year, but the best times of the year are sort of Easter time and then sort of October, November, December till February, put it that way. It doesn't, when we're in the rains in Kenya, it doesn't absolutely chuck it down and rain 24 hours a day. It's usually mid to late afternoon. So it's also a beautiful time to ride. It's just slippy slightly.
Yeah.
It's very muddy. So, in general, any time of the year, you can always ride. Yeah.
All right, well, great getting together, Frederic, Netta. I look forward to chatting again, either virtually or on audio, or however we get together.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right.
Amazing.
Great, thanks.
All right, take care.
Look forward to seeing you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye.
I hope you found the interview interesting. It was great chatting to Netta and also to Frederic, and I can't wait to actually get across to Kenya in the years to come, whether it be next year or maybe 2023. But anyway, if you are more local to Kenya or in the region, then you can contact Netta or Frederic on their website, Dusty Helmets, and there'll be a link there. And if you'd like to join me on an Adventure8 tour of Dusty Helmets in the years to come, then do stay in touch, and obviously subscribe to my channel, and you'll be notified when plans start to become more firm. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate your support. And do by all means reach out to me about these tours, and go direct to Dusty Helmets for more information as well if you're able to do something earlier. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks, cheers, bye.